Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm your host, Kevin Wallace, and before we get into today's episode, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Streetside Brewery. Look, these guys are located in historic Columbia Tusculum neighborhood on the east side of Cincinnati, and Streetside is really the perfect mix of just local neighborhood watering hole and a modern craft beer brewery. They have 24 beers on tap, and I promise you, you will not find a bad one amongst them. These guys were great when they had us out for the live show for the CONCACAF Champions Cup kickoff to start FC Cincinnati's season, and they do events all throughout the year. They do a pint night on Tuesday nights. They do Premier League mornings. Tons of really fun events there. But a special note to Postcast listeners, if you mention the Cincy Postcast at the bar when you're getting your beer, they will take $1 off of your beer, and you let them know that we sent you their way. You can find them at 4003 Eastern Avenue or in the fridge of wherever you're picking up your next beer. Again, a huge thank you to Streetside Brewery for sponsoring the Postcast. And on this episode of the Postcast, well, we get to talk about a win. No, a winning streak. FC Cincinnati second in the Eastern Conference, coming off a comprehensive performance against a pretty good Colorado Rapids team. Boy, this is a fun episode. Anybody else notice who wasn't starting this game? Interesting. In part 2, we are answering your questions from the Patreon. You put all of that together and you got yourselves a lovely episode of the Postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more are two gentlemen who are happy to be back to see a W in the Fortress. We're joined by the Chief. We're joined by Grayson. Grayson, I mean, the first warm-ish spring win hits different, doesn't it not?
Yeah, and for a second there at the end of the game, it felt like maybe they forgot what they do when they win. Because I felt like it didn't go straight into Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, there seemed to be like an extended intro to this Brightside, like Brightside remix of some sort.
Yeah.
Brightside 2.0.
Yeah, the club remix. I like that. I unfortunately was not at this game, so you're going to have to give me the play-by-play. I am particularly interested in the sword pool, but Chief, how did the match day find you?
Vibes were nice. It was nice weather walking in. It felt like old times right from the start. Like the vibes were immaculate in terms of it was nice out, sun was shining, it was warm, no coats, no cold weather gear required. And if you squinted, you could convince yourself, oh yeah, we're back on that 2023 feeling again, summer of 2023. And I don't know, like this is the best time of year. And like the two best times of year as just I'll say a human being is it's jeans and t-shirt weather. So it's this time and then in the fall where it's the same thing where, you don't have to dress any heavier than just throw a t-shirt on. We're going to have a good time tonight.
That is sort of the ideal human temperature, is it not? I've heard it described. Oh my God, I was going to say this. It's kind of San Diego weather. Like San Diego has like the dream weather of anywhere, at least in the U.S.
Boy, this show's going to get canceled.
I know.
How dare you? First off, how dare you? Second of all, no, it was good.
I think the dream weather is like, so yesterday I was in shorts and a t-shirt. I thought it was warm.
Okay.
And
I'm not a shorts guy, so
yeah, I'm a comfort guy, so.
I feel like the problem with shorts, though, is that when you wear shorts to a sport, it's like wearing them on an airplane or a sporting event. In those situations, when you're wearing shorts and the other person is wearing shorts, it raises the possibility of leg-to-leg skin contact. And I don't know that I want everyone being exposed to my legs. I don't know that that's something that needs to happen.
I don't wear shorts on planes. just as like kind of a matter of decorum.
Right. I think it's the same at a sporting event.
I would actually support some kind of dress code for planes, because I do think that something needs to be done with the way people are behaving.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like, not just in planes, but like a lot of public things. Like, I went to the theater the other night, and I felt like the first 30 minutes, people were just getting up and down.
Oh,
and I'm like, what are we doing?
Right.
This is an 80-minute show. This is not a movie. Like, you don't like it should be like kind of a rare situation that you are coming in or leaving while it's happening. You know? And it's not that it's not that it like bothers me that they're doing it, in that it like interrupts like my enjoyment of the show, because it doesn't really affect me very much. It's just more of it bothers me that like so many people seem to think, yeah, this is fine.
Yeah,
this is a normal thing to do.
It's main character syndrome, that you're the main character of your own life and everybody else is there just sort of populating the world as the NPCs. And I get to decide what my conduct is. I get to decide what I do. I don't like it. It breaks the norms of society. We all agree on these rules, and then somebody decides not to do that. It's like, no, that's not how this is done. We all agree that when we're at the theater, we're all going to be sitting here the entire time, and it should be an emergency that requires you to get up in the middle of the show. It should be an emergency that makes you late for the show.
Or if you're going to leave because you're like offended by it, right? Because you showed up and then not a fucking word of it was Ibsen.
Yeah, not one word.
That's fine. Like, because then you're making a statement.
Yeah.
You know?
Leaving should be a statement. Like, it's always great at a comedy show when somebody gets up and they have to like try to bargain with the performer that like they're going to the bathroom, that they're not offended by what's happening.
I swear I'm not a snowflake. It's okay.
Right.
I really think you're funny.
You know who really needs to be taken down a peg or two in this country is like rich people.
Okay.
That's a controversial take.
So I flew, and I'm not saying like, this is separate from like the optimal tax rate. Okay. This is just like rein in their just like kind of social behaviors a little bit.
Yeah. So
I flew into Vail Airport recently. Okay.
Speaking of taking down rich people a peg,
which is different from flying into Denver, because like Denver is a lot of just like regular, like people of all stripes flying to Denver. Vail, there's a higher concentration than normal of, I would say, like more well-off people that are actually flying into the Vail airport.
That tracks. And
it was like a zoo. The flight attendant was having to talk to people like they were like children acting up. Like it was like, you know, people were just like running up, walking up and down the aisles to use like the restroom while we're like taxiing, and she's like, we can't go unless everybody sits down and puts their seatbelt on. Oh, no. and then like at the end when we're landing, she's like, I still see a lot of laptops out. And there were like, I would say probably a third of the flight was like actively talking on their cell phones, like checking their, like scanning their ticket, walk into the plane and sitting on the aircraft. It was just, and some of them were like speakerphone situations.
That's the
worst.
The speakerphone, there should be a feature that disables the use of your speakerphone if it detects more than 3 other phones around you. You can use a speakerphone if you're by yourself, but if your iPhone senses 2 additional iPhones or 3 additional iPhones around you, there should at least be a warning of this will annoy everyone else. Are you sure you want to engage the speakerphone? Like you should have to agree that like click yes, I am an asshole before you're allowed to continue on with speakerphone.
It's like, sir, I know that you're wearing like a caduce jacket, but like, come on, let's just be nice and quiet and behave on the plane.
There was I don't know exactly what happened here. I saw it briefly on Twitter. There was a flight out of I think it was San Francisco going to Hawaii, and that they had made it about halfway to Hawaii where they turned around and went back to San Francisco, and the reported reason was unruly passengers. So like Yeah, just like you don't get to go to Hawaii anymore. We were halfway there, and the pilot literally had to turn the plane around and go back home.
Since we haven't abolished the police yet,
Right.
and we haven't abolished prison, if people act badly enough that you have to turn around a plane that's going from San Francisco to Hawaii, somebody should go into jail.
Yeah, prison. Like that is what federal prison is for. Is that you screwed my Hawaiian vacation up? You should go to prison. That's just those are the rules.
It's a property crime.
Yeah, it's obstructing official FAA business. Come on.
Honestly, it's probably terrorism if you squint hard enough.
The wasted fuel is eco-terrorism. So yes, I agree.
I mean, I'm not even going to go there. All right, Kevin.
We're backing out. We're backing out.
I saw a future where this podcast gets canceled, and I was like, nope, I'm not ready to quit. Not after a win.
Don't tease me.
Save it for the Patreon. All right.
Right.
If we got canceled, I'd be so happy. Because I'd get to quit and not say it's because I got tired of it, right?
Right.
I'd be like, we were just such fearless truth tellers that the world couldn't handle it.
I mean, isn't that what ends a podcast as a canceling? Like
that's how you get rich.
That's a good point.
Right. I already have the article for Barry Weiss's The Free Pet Press drafted about how woke soccer fans didn't like having what do they call it? Intellectual diversity.
Yeah.
Diversity of thought.
A diversity of viewpoints, yes.
Yeah.
It'll be the first podcast signed to Alexi Lawless's podcasting network.
I bet we could get on Alexi's show.
It's the Men in Red Hats podcast.
What's the Clay Travis Sports Network?
Oh, Outkick.
Outkick. See, come on. Do they have a soccer Outkick? There's no way.
I mean,
there's no way.
No. If it would be Kick Out, that would be the Roman Celentano podcast.
Hey, I like that.
Outkick is too like hack.
Right.
Like they're so cliched. Like they would like not have like a soccer section out of some like 90s idea that like soccer is like a communist sport or something.
But maybe that's the angle. And we just talk about, this weekend woke for soccer. It could be
we
fun.
could be anti-woke Marxists.
Ooh, okay.
Like really throw people for a loop.
Really big China fans.
The Little Red Soccer Book.
The little red card. Come on, it's right there.
There we go. Damn it.
Yes, well, this is now a anti-woke Maoist podcast. Welcome, and let's talk about the pregame because again, I am so intrigued by this. We'll touch on lineups later. Whatever. Angelo Dawkins was the sword puller, and I want to say we championed this. At least we suggested he should be a sword puller.
Absolutely.
And therefore we can take credit for this. So
yes, this was brought to you by the Post. No, it was a confluence of events that made this very, very cool opportunity present. The Angelo Dawkins, for those of you who didn't somehow go on Twitter and see his picture 1,000 times last night and tonight, Angelo Dawkins is one half of the Street Profits, a very, very successful WWE tag team, along with his tag team partner Montez Ford.
And if I'm not mistaken, they spell profits like PROFITS, right?
Yes,
nice.
It's
a little bit of word play there. So
indeed, it's clever.
That's how you draw me into wrestling.
Yes,
this is the word play.
They're multi-time world tag team champions, and Angelo Dawkins, a Cincinnati resident, born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, and SmackDown, the WWE show, was in Cincinnati on Friday night. They taped that live, or they aired that live from the U.S. Bank Arena. So he was in town with the rest of the E, as it was. And yeah, he makes sense as a sword pull. He is a huge soccer fan. If you follow him on social media, He big Real Madrid fan, I believe, but he's always tweeting about soccer, reposting stuff on soccer. Has said multiple times he was looking forward to getting out to an FC Cincinnati game. Pulls the sword, electric moment for everyone. And what I loved so much about this was he's the first person I think that has pulled the sword and then immediately gone up into the Bailey and just rocked out with the fans for all 90 minutes. And that was really, really cool.
Yeah, the fact that he like went the whole time, this wasn't a publicity hit. This wasn't, check the list. We did the thing. He like really seemed to enjoy the moment, enjoyed the atmosphere, enjoyed the Bailey. And yeah, Bailey was drumming like, I don't know if he drummed the whole time. Please, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like he was going for a while, which is just awesome.
Yeah, he was in the drummer the entire night.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And, getting somebody who's kind of in that showman profession.
Yes.
Who's also just kind of a physical giant, right? And is going to have no problem like thrusting this sword in the air and looking like he could bring it down, with some speed. It really, really worked. And it's got to be, even if you don't even throw in him going into the Bailey, and yucking it up with the Bailey the whole game, which is another level and also incredible. It's got to be the best sword pull. If you don't factor in, like, say, the sentimental value of Nick throwing off the crutches.
I mean, the haggling crutches is going to be tough to top, but I agree.
Just as like pure showmanship of pulling out the sword and playing to the crowd, like
they fucked the Nick one up.
Beaten.
They screwed the Nick one up though, because it took him too long to crutch over to the sword, and by the time he did the big reveal and pulled the sword, they cut to black almost immediately because they were up against their broadcast window. But no, I would put this, the only one that's in the same stratosphere in terms of sword pulls would be the time they had all the Reds back when they were on that huge winning streak, or they were playing really, really good baseball last summer. And I think they had like Ellie De La Cruz out there and Joey Votto and a couple other guys were.
Jonathan India, I think, was wearing the Viking helmet.
The Viking helmet. Yeah. That was electric. So like this one definitely makes the Mount Rushmore. For me personally, as a pro wrestling fan, this was number one for me. I'll hear arguments for the Reds and Nick Haglund being as cool. But look, if you're going to have this cliche, stupid thing at the start, lean into it, have some fun, and get some people that want to be here doing it. Like this is,
and I want to be
cool.
clear, by calling it a stupid thing, I don't want to put words in Chief's mouth here, but that doesn't mean like it's not fun.
Right. No,
right? That doesn't mean
awesome.
that doesn't mean we don't like it. Like I don't want people to hear like stupid and be like, oh, they trashed the thing. It is a stupid little thing, but like it's been very enjoyable. Honestly, like most of the time.
Yeah. I remember when the idea was first brought up, and it felt like years before it actually showed up, and immediately hating it. Just thinking it was the worst thing in the world. The execution in general has been really, really good. The one thing though is that like I don't know how much bigger or better they can make it, but like the little thing that they're pulling the sword out of needs to be slightly more impressive. And that's the only way to phrase it. And it's such a dumb criticism because I don't know what you could do. Like it should be larger, but I understand that like that's not realistic with the field, but it does feel small for what should be a big moment of the pregame.
Yeah, I don't know. No, that's a fair criticism. My only thing that I think they should be doing is number one, I think it should be in the Bailey as opposed to on the field, like up at the top, like by the entrance. Like that's what they do in Atlanta when they pound the spike thing. I think on the field limits what you can do versus if it's in the stands, you can do something bigger. But even if you're going to keep it on the field, I think the next logical step, I think I said this last year, but I really do believe this, is that there should be a sword for every game that's engraved with the name of whoever it is that pulled it, and they should put a wall of swords somewhere. So like after that person pulls the sword, it goes up on a wall somewhere. And so you can look back and see every celebrity or every person that has their sword up on the wall. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And now that we're good, put the score of the game from that game. That'd be fun.
They started the tradition right when the team got good. So you're spared a wall of just loss after loss after loss.
I like it. I mean, it's hard not to think that a Game of Thrones, throne of all of the swords melted down would be pretty sweet too. I think in that episode, it just came back to me. I said that would be way too expensive. After the episode was published, come to find out, swords fairly cheap. So I think this is a realistic idea. So
they're selling Coke for $10 a cup. They can afford swords.
Yes.
Look, all right, you guys can get another DP striker, or we can do swords. All right.
Honestly, with this track record of DP strikers, I'm going swords.
Just give me the swords.
Swords are at least a sure thing.
Yeah, swords are cool. Swords can cut things and stab things, and swords you can use for offensive purposes.
Yeah, swords have utilitarian value, unlike it does feel like DP strikers for FC Cincinnati outside of half of one season. That's all you get with these guys.
You can use a sword to attack. So far, our DP strikers haven't been able to do that.
Not so much, which leads me right into the lineup for FC Cincinnati versus Colorado Rapids. And yeah, it was both surprising and not surprising all at the same time. Alec Can gets the start in goal. Ian Murphy on the left, Miazga, Robinson on the right as your center backs, Oriano on the left, Yedlin on the right for now. Buka, Wobodo, and Acosta are your midfield trio with, as we've been alluding to, Yuya Kubo and Corey Baird up top. Second match in a row where Aaron Boupendza was benched. Grayson, thoughts when you saw the lineup?
Well, I saw a headline about it from Broadway World.
They're covering? Wow.
Aaron Doolittle? Boupendza's trends portend to descend.
Wow, that's the most concise headline they've written in a while.
I kept waiting for more, and you just didn't get it.
So I now I'm a little more cautious about what we should think about Aaron just than they are. I said before the game that if he doesn't start, it doesn't really make me think differently about where he is in the team. That it's not working. They're trying things, and I don't take it to mean that they have given up on him, or anything like that.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah. I want to start at the end here. Okay. After the game, Pat Noonan gives this quote, and this is from Pat Brennan's article, his gamer from last night. In the moment, it's not different than any other player. You have starting moments. You have moments where maybe you're behind a guy, and it's because of the performances of players in your position, and then how the team is performing, and how are you winning games. He still has a very important role in our team. Does it look a little different in the moment? Of course, because we're accustomed to seeing him start games. My expectation is he continues to work hard in ways where, as the minutes continue to come and increase, he's ready to contribute. I listened to that quote, and that tells me right now he's viewed as a reserve, that whatever it is he's showing in practice and combined with the way players ahead of him are playing, he's just on the bench right now. This isn't sending a message. This isn't trying to increase motivation, or this is just straight. They do not feel Aaron Boupendza gives them the best chance to win right now. And that's staggering. That's staggering that you have a designated player that is the, the second biggest transfer in club history behind only Brenner. He's Albright's biggest transfer. And that's a lot of money to just be sitting there on the bench. And I'm shocked. Like, I know that, like, going into this, we said that we didn't expect him to play. How do you tinker with this lineup that played well last night? Well, as we're going to talk about, this lineup played well again.
Yeah.
Is that, like, this
they played
is
better. Like, they played well, but they not only played well.
Yeah, they played better.
They played even, like, much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really was shades of 2023. Yeah.
This is a problem for this team. Now, it's a lowercase p, like champagne problem almost, that they're winning games. They've turned around. They're looking better. But the solution they have found doesn't include playing their high price transfer. And they're in like a sort of a weird situation now, too, where you don't want to break things up. But at the same token, like, even if you're going to sell him, you've got to, you can't just have him riding the bench ahead of a sale. You're not going to make anything back for him. I don't know. Like, this is uncharted territory for me.
It is very interesting. Yeah, there was another quote from Pat after the game where he says, with the ball, it was probably our best performance, just with the spacing and the ways that we were able to attack, which I think is particularly interesting, that it's like, not only does the offense look good without him, and like the less he plays, the better this team looks. Like Baird and Kubo are gelling in a way that Boupendza never was.
So that's an issue in two ways, right? Because it's an issue in the sense that you would want your DP striker to be part of the best offense you could put on the field,
right?
Because of the scarcity of that slot with the MLS roster build. It's also a problem, though, that like not having him out there generates the best play with the ball and the most chances, because they're not great. Like, this group is not great collectively at converting those chances. Right. And Boupendza was, say whatever else you want to say about him, he's been really efficient in that he converts a fairly high percentage of the chances that he gets. And you want him on the field more. You want him to have more chances so he converts even more. But if you could, like have, say Corey Baird do all the stuff that like Corey Baird was doing, and then right before there's an opportunity, just like click on Corey Baird, pull him out, and throw in Boupendza.
Yeah, it's like
that would be better. Like, so you would want to have, and that's what we were kind of sold on with Boupendza, was that he's able to be, as or more part of the build up and the flow as like Brenner was.
Yeah.
And he, I think, was part of that, at least a bit, last year.
Mm-hmm.
He has not been part of that even a little bit this year.
Yeah. His like touches per match were abysmal when he was starting at the beginning of this year. That like he just was not getting on the ball. And yeah, like I've been a huge defender of Boupendza in that he's an incredibly efficient striker. Almost every shot he takes is on target, tons of good things. But if you can't generate shots, say lower quality striker that gets a lot more chances will ultimately get more goals over the long run. And that's kind of what we've seen here. And it becomes, almost doubly a problem, because the better and better Baird and Kubo look together, doesn't matter how good Boupendza is, you're not going to disrupt what's actually generating goals and what's working.
But they had 20, like it was a thoroughly dominant performance last night.
25 shots on goal,
60%. I think 25 shots. I don't know what the on goal number
shots
was, but like Kubo had 7 shots, 5 on goal.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, like one of the things that we talked about in a previous show was like the distance from goal. on the shots.
Yes.
And I still think that I haven't looked at that, but I still think that that probably is a little bit further on average than you would like with the number of shots they had.
Here are the stats, because I was going to bring this up at some point. We'll do it now. 25 total shots from the FC yesterday. 9 shots on target. 12 of the shots were taken inside the box, so inside the 18-yard box. Like, they took a game's worth of shots just on the shots they took inside the 18. The possession numbers were off the charts for an FCC team in this game as well.
Well, it wasn't just the possession, right? Because it was like possession and they were getting lots of shots.
Yeah.
With like, it was, I'm not sure we've seen that combination of that many attempts plus that share of possession, which was above 60 most of the game.
Yeah, it ended at 59-41, but it was above 60 for most of the game.
And but like, when you're not efficient, like they scored on less than 10% of their shots. Okay. When you're not efficient, you can be as dominant as you want. Colorado was still in that game.
Yes.
At the end of the game. And all it takes is, you being wasteful, plus the other team gets lucky, or, Matt forgets to jump on a set piece, or, whatever happens, and you didn't get anything out of that game, or you got less out of that game than you should have. Which is why, like, I'm extremely encouraged by the striker play. I'm extremely encouraged by how well everybody played, and we could talk about all of that, but like, I still think that this team's best shot at winning something this year is figuring out how to get Boupendza back on the field and get him to play as well as, he's capable of playing. Because in a game like Colorado, then maybe it's not 2-1, maybe it's 3-0, 4-1. It's out of reach earlier.
I just think efficiency is a bullshit. Like in soccer, it's a bullshit stat. It's just, he converts a lot of the opportunities. He converts at a higher percentage of the opportunities that he gets. But if he is an active impediment to generating opportunities because of his spacing, because of his positioning, because of how he does or doesn't pass and distribute the ball in the buildup, I just don't care. Like, what is it, like the prevailing wisdom of soccer? Is that like generating chances and generating shots? That's like the best metric or for how your team is doing and how your team is going to create goals. The team looks night and day better at generating opportunities without him on the field. So I don't care that he's good at finishing opportunities if he also is a hindrance to other people getting opportunities and a hindrance to creating opportunities. And yeah, I agree in theory that this team's best path forward to winning a trophy is getting production out of Aaron Boupendza. I just don't see it happening. Like, at some point, he's flunked the eyeball test at some point, where I see what the team looks like, even going back to last year. I see what the team looks like when he's on the field. I see what the team looks like when he's off the field. When he's on the field, the team looks less threatening. They don't make the right passes. They don't make the unlocking runs. And everyone just stands around waiting for Lucho to do something spectacular. When he's off the field, it's like everybody suddenly becomes more creative. Everybody decides to move better. Everybody decides to pass better. It's not just that they don't like him. I just don't think he fits. I don't think fundamentally he fits with what they're doing. That whatever is in his head and his natural instincts that you're not going to coach out of him, his natural instinct is to play in such a way that just is a force divider as opposed to a force multiplier.
It does get more interesting just looking ahead to the future when you add Kevin Kelsy to the mix, where there is a striker that has to be given a chance, I feel like, with a loan like this. Maybe not. Maybe it's a no risk move, but I'd assume they want to see what he looks like. And all of a sudden, Boupendza's looking at 3 guys ahead of him on the depth chart. Or do you take this fully functional, offense that is slowly blossoming and just completely rip it out and drop in Kelsy and Boupendza and hope it works. And we go through a 10-match growing pain again. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to trigger Chief again by saying efficiency. But what I meant by efficiency is not like, goals per 90 or whatever. It's like
chances. How many chances does it take?
Converting a higher share of the chances that you get.
Right.
I agree with basically everything Chief said. If Kelsy comes in and shows that he is a little bit lethal in front of goal and shows that he can help generate space for people in the box, I'm not even saying like as a starter, you know, but if he shows like any ability to be, goal dangerous in limited chances, any ability to create space for people in the box, any ability to hold up the ball and, take some pressure off of our midfield and defense a bit. It's going to get harder and harder to find excuses to put Boupendza on the field. Because I think we've seen progression from Kubo and Baird, week in, week out.
Yeah.
I think you can criticize aspects of everybody's play, and I'm not trying to go overboard because I feel like I've maybe been a bit bearish on the result last night, and I think they played great. Like I think it was like the best performance they've looked all year, and it was a joy to watch. So I don't want to throw cold water on it, but yeah, like I don't think I'd be surprised if Kubo and Baird suddenly regressed, right? And then if Kelsy comes in and starts earning minutes,
it's hard to see a path back, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's an interesting problem. And, to save people at Google, Boupendza is under contract through the end of 2025. The team has 2 option years. I assume those are individual after the fact. I don't know that they have to exercise 2-year option at one moment, but
they're usually, I've never heard of like a
multi-year
double
option.
or nothing.
Yeah.
Option.
Yeah, right.
It's usually you exercise it on a year-by-year basis.
Gotcha.
Or if you're Yu Kubo, you just have the endless, never-ending option, which
Right.
thank God for.
You appear in a game, it triggers.
Yeah. I noted this earlier today. I put this on the old X app here because I found this to be fascinating.
I like this.
So I won't do we've already revealed who these are, but it's eerie how similar the stat lines and the production lines are so if you just take their seasons through April 28th, either April 28th of 2023 or April 28th of 2024, how similar the stat lines are for Boupendza and Brenner to this point in the year. Right down to the fact that through April 28th, 2023, Brenner had played 512 minutes and scored 1 goal. No assists. MLS minutes, yeah, because they didn't have. I took out the other minutes because they didn't have a cup competition last year. And so 512 MLS minutes, 1 goal, no assists. Through April 28th, 2024, Aaron Boupendza, 511 minutes played, just 1 minute difference, 2 goals, no assists. It's for all the effort that they've undertaken to try and get more production out of this DP striker spot. Functionally, they're in the exact same spot as they were with Brenner last year. The only difference being that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The only difference being is that Brenner was on his way out, so they could sell and try again. And Brenner wasn't on the team at that point. He left due to his trying to basically preserve himself for his new team. They kept saying it was a leg injury, I think, is what they said before. But he wasn't there. And what I'm worried about legitimately with this team, and, it sucks that, we're talking about, not fun things after what should be a fun episode. I guess we'll get to the fun here in a second. I am genuinely curious. I won't say worried. I'll say genuinely curious how Aaron Boupendza, the man, is going to react to all this, because, there's been, I would say, genuinely maybe some maturity issues. I don't know. Or some issues with Boupendza. He's a star player. Star players don't always react the best to being benched. So I would hope things can be professional, and I would hope that this is a motivating thing to work harder in training, to figure out what it is that he needs to get back on the field. But that's a dicey situation whenever you're taking one of your highest paid players and relegating them to basically mop up duty to kill a game off.
Yeah,
it's arguably worse than the Brenner situation, because Brenner was
not trying.
Brenner was taking Brenner wasn't trying. He took himself out of contention by, very openly and actively not wanting to be here.
Yeah.
Boupendza, for all we know,
he's trying.
This is all just performance based.
Oh. Yeah, he hasn't been suspended from FCC or anything this year, as far as we can tell. I mean, he may not be putting in the best practice sessions or something, but as far as we can tell, nothing about his professionalism has been called into question here. It is straight up performance based. And it reminds me of when Noonan and Albright first came into the team. And I forget which of them said this, but they talked about inheriting that team from Stom and Nightcamp, basically saying that there were guys on the roster that felt like their position or their role with the team was written in ink because of how much they were paid or how, who they were as a player. And that was one of the first culture things that they wanted to change, was that everybody's always competing for minutes and there is no, lockdown role. And yeah, I think if nothing else, whatever this is successful on the field. It would be one thing if we were having all of this dysfunction and the team was sucking. The team looked awesome against Colorado, and a Colorado team that is pretty good this year, maybe a top half of the playoff field in the Western Conference when all is said and done. But I think what this is, and I'll spin this to a positive to lead us into more positive conversations, but it sends a positive message to the rest of the roster, and in particular, the rest of the bench, that just because you're behind a DP right now doesn't mean you can't outplay them and earn a starting role. Kip Keller, if you can show us that you're better than Matt Miazga, there is nothing that this coaching staff has showed you that would tell you that you can't start over him if you can prove it on the field. Celentano should probably feel the most nervous of anybody on the bench at the moment, because Can looks pretty okay in these games. He's doing a bang up job there. So I thought that was interesting. And Halsey getting the sub in for Yedlin, which we'll touch on in a moment. Has he surpassed Powell on the depth chart? I don't know. Maybe it was a game specific thing that they saw, but yeah, I think this is a good message to send to the rest of the roster that you can indeed play your way into starting minutes. You're not just locked behind a guy because he's getting more GAM than you, right? This is an open competition. So yeah, let's talk about this Colorado team for a second, which going into the game had virtually an identical resume to us, had the same number of points, had won the same number of games, same number of draws.
They had, I think, more draws and only one loss.
That's what it was. Okay.
Is what it was.
And they had scored a few more goals than us, let in a few more goals, which is how you'd expect these teams to shake out. But this was a team that had overhauled their own roster in the offseason, brought in a new manager, and had been looking pretty competent to start the year. So I do think overall the performance here was awesome. Unfortunately, though, the first thing we have to talk about in this game is DeAndre Yedlin getting hurt. Sam Vines shoulder checks him to the ground, and he just sort of lands awkwardly on his hip, and apparently was experiencing shooting pains down his leg, and pulled himself out after a corner. And
I think Noonan pulled him out.
Yeah. Okay. So Noonan pulled him out.
In the press conference, which you could watch on the website if folks are curious, Noonan said they noticed him not taking some opportunities to run forward and get involved in some attacking opportunities, and that it was precautionary. It didn't sound like he viewed it, at least at the time, as something serious or very long term. But
good. Well, that is good because for those first 15 minutes, Chief.
Yeah, it sucked because he looked really, really feisty in the first part of this game. And it was just more to the idea that this team is so much better when they're willing to switch play and be as willing to go up the right side as the left side. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the offense was really started to click as this team has become a little less left-hand dominant, as it were. It's benefited Orishano and it's benefited Yedlin. And in this game in particular, Yedlin was cooking the right side of that field alive.
It's incredible the way when you have Orishano and Yedlin both in there. A little less with Halsey, although Halsey did this a little bit as well. The way that both of those guys can, just switch the field, even kind of high up the field, it's so impressive. And because the defense will tend to kind of overload to one side, and either wingback is capable of then immediately pinging it all the way across to a guy who's wide open in space, who then usually is going to in a good position to carry it forward, into the box and make a pass.
Right, because they're both really, really good 1v1. And when you make a big switch like that, the odds are you're going to find yourself creating a 1v1 opportunity. And you like either one of those versus just about anyone in MLS that's playing on a back line.
Yeah. Orishano had a run that was just awesome. Just all the way up the field.
Yeah, it reminds me of remember Jonah on KLR used to bring this up all the time. This was the classic Hoyt is open, right? Like when the ball is on the other side of the field, nobody is protecting against the other outside back. Then it wasn't quite a wing back, but his point was always like, hey, you've seen how some of these guys pass. You don't want them knocking the ball all the way across the field. Like, it's just never going to be successful with who we have. All of a sudden, this team has got some guys that can play volleyball with each other from the opposite side of the field. And it was awesome when those big switches would happen, especially against an Armas led team. These tend to be pressing teams. The Red Bull pressing system has always sort of done this sideways press where they really try to pin you up against the touch line there. And being able to cross out of that is such an advantage. And speaking of Orishano, I mean, again, I'm just going to keep bringing up Jonah here, saying that he's already surpassed Barrial. This was definitely the game that Luca Orishano became president. This is well and truly his position now. I don't even remember the other guy who had this role.
The other guy was pretty good, though.
He was.
It's Orishano. He's growing nicely and settling nicely into the role. And what's nice to see about him is that we always say, progression for young players or progression for players isn't linear. With Orishano over the last couple of weeks, it's been logarithmic or exponential. He has gotten each game he has played over, I'd say, the last 4 games has been the best game he's played as a member of FC Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And last week was his best game as an FC Cincinnati player. This week was twice as good. And so you like where that is. You like to see that he's growing into the role. He's becoming a lot more comfortable with knowing where players are going to be, passes, interplay with Lucho especially. And he hasn't lost that dribbly boy part of his game where he'll just run right at people. So I love to see it.
Yeah, this is also too I forget, somebody mentioned this in the Discord, and I forget who, and I apologize. They deserve credit here, but because I had forgotten about this, the fact that his tenure with FCC essentially started with his father passing away in the first 3 weeks or so, and the fact that he's been able to mentally lock in with this team is nothing short of incredible. He's 24 years old, and already he has grown into this role, a position that, as far as I can tell, he never played professionally until coming here. Like, it's looking really good. And his crosses last night in particular were deadly. It was awesome to see. Makes you wish you had a a
6'4"
young someone to ping the ball off the forehead of. Yeah.
The interesting thing about him too is he's yet another player that I know nothing about. Like, you could make up any backstory you want for Luca Orishano. Like, we had the thing about Yuya Kubo that loves to wear cowboy hats in his spare time. You could make anything up about Luca Orishano, and I would be like, yeah, that tracks. Like,
what's his yerba mate order? Come on now.
Right. He's never eaten a steak in his life. It's like, wow, I didn't know that about him.
So some of the criticism coming out of Brazil that I saw when we signed him was that he was too timid in training, like where he was a little hurt but didn't want to say anything, and then was kind of put in a bad position that didn't really fit him by a coach and wouldn't say anything. And I don't know, from what we've heard, in preseason and from I think the coaching staff, just in the kind of limited opportunities that they've spoken publicly about it, it seemed like he came in and understood that his role was going to be, that left wing back spot.
Yeah.
And he was willing to, learn it and play there, which, this is it's a little different from Alvaro, because like Alvaro was like, he kind of seized an opportunity to play a position he wasn't signed to play.
Right.
To get, to kind of force himself onto the field. But I agree with Chief. He's gotten exponentially better, and he's willing. He's a willing defender. Like, yeah. So you can't really ask on that end of the field, given his background, anything more than just being willing to do it and, working hard.
Yeah. 6 recoveries on the night, which I have no context as to whether or not that's good, but it's more than 0. So good on him for doing that.
You start to get kind of excited about where could this lead to? Like, how much better how much higher is the ceiling? Because in ascendancy, he's already playing better than I anticipated he would this year. So God,
he's gonna start hitting some of these long range shots. Because he's been close so many times.
He had one yesterday where it was like a screamer that he didn't miss by much. And I'm thinking to myself, if you get a couple of those in, it's going to change the way you're defended once you start scoring some goals like that.
That one in particular was great on the broadcast, because I did finally get the opportunity to listen to Tommy G and Kevin on the broadcast. They both thought it went in. They were convinced that one was golden. Yeah, so I love that. Now, unfortunately, just to bring it back to the game, Yedlin goes out, Halsey comes in. I thought Halsey did fine. I don't have a moment that sticks out in my mind for him. He had one shot right after halftime that was about it. I don't know what else.
I mean, there's a noticeable drop. There's a noticeable drop off in quality from Yedlin to Halsey. It's substantial, I would say. And some of it is in his first touch, which I think he would tell you he didn't have a great first touch last night, which it slows attacks down. It offers the other team the opportunity to take the ball away from you. He's young and he's developing. And you know what? There was a drop off from Yedlin, I thought, but he saw the match out. He played well. There was no noticeable negatives from when he came in. So in terms of bench depth and a depth piece, really that's all you can ask for. Is he came into a situation he wasn't prepared to play this many minutes, I don't think. And I thought he acquitted himself well. Not as well as I think based on the first couple minutes that Yedlin was looking to be able to play yesterday, but he did what he had to do. So job well done.
And he does kind of make himself, part of the attack in ways that not all of the backup right backs that we've seen come through have done. I mean, like, he does a decent job of playing a ball into the box. He tries to get down, to the line.
Yeah.
He did switch field in those dangerous spots a couple of times, not as, perfectly and as Yedlin did, but I think you could kind of see the things he was doing and kind of see like, okay, well, this makes sense of why he was our first choice coming off the bench versus like Alvis.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can also see, I think you can also see too why they were in the market for DeAndre Yedlin. Yeah. And the reason Halsey, if he had played the entire year the way he played last night and he was the starting right wing back, it's probably okay. But you can see how quality with Yedlin, especially the last 2 or 3 weeks, you can see, oh yeah, the top end there is just something that Halsey doesn't have yet. And he's young. He might get to that point at some point in his career where he, learns the position a little better, gets the minutes he needs to develop into that. But right now, you hope that DeAndre Yedlin is back and available soon because that lineup is cooking with them out there.
Yeah. That's really what hurt the most about the timing, because it felt like they were really, really getting it.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't sound like, at least as far as reporting thus far, it doesn't sound like anybody is thinking of it as a long-term injury for Yedlin. And as far as Halsey's concerned, you don't need necessarily him to be as good as Yedlin. You need guys being able to come off the bench and give you good extended minutes. And I think that he did that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 26 minute. I bring this up because, man, we're just back in it, aren't we? Matt Miazga gets a yellow card for dissent, and nobody gets a yellow card faster for talking back to a referee than Matt Miazga.
They've been
so fast.
They've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
The PSRA has been waiting for this one.
It's funny, during the replacement referee era of this league a couple of weeks ago, there was the accusation that the VAR was sort of puppeteering the game in the ear of the center ref. This was a newer to the American game referee with Chris Penso on the VAR. Did Penso whisper into his ear, "Give him a yellow, give him a yellow"? Yeah. That's dissent.
You don't have to put up with that. How dare him?
Penso was like kind of just telling him like, this is what Matt thinks about the funding going to Ukraine. And just getting that ref matter.
Right.
I mean, do they have a post-game spread for refs at the stadium? Do we feed them so that there's food in their dressing room after?
Matt tried and they kicked
right.
him out.
I'm saying maybe if an official doesn't like the post-game spread at a stadium when FC Cincinnati's playing, maybe they try to bait Matt Miazga into a card so that he delivers pizza to their room their dressing room after the game.
Ooh, that's a good call.
They're just looking for free food. They're looking for a handout.
Matt's always good for a pie. Let's make sure he's got a bullshit yellow that he comes to try to argue. So that was lovely. But no, the first half almost ends scoreless right up until Lucho Acosta. Oh, was that a?
So, Yes, the first half almost ended scoreless.
Yes.
And there's a something that happened in the first half that we've not discussed. It happened before Lucho's goal.
Oh,
so I want to address it.
No, please address this.
There was a point in the game where I tweeted, Baird is not going to score this season.
Yeah.
And I want to point out a couple of things, okay? One is people have since gone back and pointed out that this was proved not to be factually true.
Huh.
Imagine that. Don't spin. Just
No.
take your
This is
beating and
spin.
move on.
This is not spin. Okay, this happened. So there was an opportunity in the first half where
So they
Baird
tell
had
you before they give you a spin.
he had a wide open shot at goal. He could have put this ball literally anywhere, and instead he tries to go like upper 90 and pings across the post and does not score. And I will tell you, in that moment, it was true. It was emotionally true that Corey Baird was not going to score this season. And then people can be like, well, he did in fact score later in the game. Pointing out facts, like, what is this, 2012? This is a post-factual truth environment.
Yeah.
This is about emotional truths.
Grayson was just reporting alternative facts about the FC Cincinnati performances there.
And the next time that Baird misses a wide open goal, it will still be emotionally true that he is never going to score.
Never has scored.
It was true right up until the facts changed. So I think you're in the clear here. He had not scored up to that point.
No, he said he
Obviously.
will not score. There's a different tense involved here.
I don't know that I believe in tenses. So
Fair enough.
I just think, pointing out that something is not anybody can be factually correct. Right. I captured I captured a moment of the national character. And that is really, frankly, one, much harder. And two, in 2024, way more important.
Yeah. What is
Fair
it? It's
enough.
life is all about speaking your truth. And your truth is that Corey Baird will never score for this team.
Yeah.
Your truth is seen and your truth is heard.
And I could, I bet I will have better results acting off of that truth than people let's say the fact obsessed scolds,
The
fact
nerds.
scolds in this fan base.
Who else is on your side is Aaron Boupendza. Also believes Corey Baird will never score a goal.
The voodoo doll he keeps at his home is certainly trying to help that. Do you think that's the case? Do you think Corey Baird was not scoring because Aaron Boupendza was using a voodoo doll to try and decrease his performance?
I haven't seen anything contradicting it. I'll just say that. But no, Baird did have a couple of good moments. Buka had a long range opportunity that was pretty good.
Baird has, like what we were setting up to talk about before Grayson decided to, spin his way out of a terrible take. Game recognized game.
True.
No,
Emotional truth.
Look,
it's a higher truth.
I've been on this podcast multiple times after
truth.
I've been sitting in your spot where there's been just an awful take out there, and I've done my best to dip, dive, dodge, duck, and dive my way out of it.
Since 2016, a lot of people have sat smugly at home, taking comfort in the fact that they are correct on the facts. And where has it gotten them? Are we in a better position? No. Are they winning? No.
Are you winning, son? But you were going to say Corey Baird, before he scores his goal, he actually has an incredible assist in this first goal that Lucho Acosta scores.
He really does.
It was the Corey Baird game is how I think we'll remember this one in years to come.
The Corey Baird coming out party for sure. That
coming out of his cage, I'm going to
doing
just fine.
I'm going to have to check his likes before I start putting Corey Baird coming out party on Twitter.
Fair enough. It may have a wife that isn't too thrilled about that party. Orishano lays it off for Lucho. Lucho splits 3 defenders, passes it off to Baird, who lays it off for Lucho, takes it in stride, buries it across the goal. It's just an awesome, awesome moment. And a reminder that as much as the attention, and we've been plenty guilty of this on this podcast, that so much of the attention is on the strikers and on Boupendza. Is he starting? Is he not starting? That this is still Lucho's team, and he is still an incredible player, and he is ultimately the reason why this team is as good as it is. And this was just an awesome moment for him scoring, and officially makes him, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, Grayson, makes him the all-time leading goal scorer for FC Cincinnati, all eras on this one.
Yes, all eras.
It is pretty remarkable that Danny Koenig and Ledesma are in the top 5, though.
Yeah.
So enjoy it while you can, with those names are still around in the top charts.
Yeah, but yeah, good moment, good goal. Zach Steffen still sucks, so that's always good. And yeah, good on Lucha for getting that one.
Yeah, it was, but it's also an imperfect encapsulation of this idea that, it's Lucho's team, and when you get the ball from Lucho, things work best if your first reaction is to look for Lucho again.
Give it right back.
And, the guy we were talking about a couple minutes ago, maybe he decides he wants to shoot there as opposed to tapping it back to Batman.
Yeah. I feel like Boupendza and Acosta played well together at the end of last year after they had their weird mending of the fences moment where they embraced after a goal. They were trying too
hard in that moment. In that moment, I think we all thought, and by we all I mean me, we all thought that methinks thou doth protest too much.
Yeah, a little bit. It was very funny. It was they've heard us talking about this. So yeah, good stuff. I don't know. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we get to Corey Baird? Oh,
let's go.
I do want to say real quick, I did have money on a Calvin Harris anytime goal scorer because, man, I just knew he was going to do it again. That's just always how it goes with FC Cincinnati. He hates us.
Yeah, so I gave out in my predictions.
Yes.
Last week on the Thursday episode, I predicted a 3-0 FC Cincinnati victory with goals being scored by Yuya Kubo, Corey Baird, and Lucho Acosta. So I decided to put my money where my mouth was, and I bet the FC to win 3-0 with goals by Lucho Acosta, Corey Baird, and Yuya Kubo. So when we get to the second half and Corey Baird scores his first goal, man, do I think I'm in business on this bet.
You almost had it. You were one Chris Penso away from living the dream there. Yeah, Baird finally does it. Just really one of the, I don't know, the highlights of the season so far. It's just seeing him get the monkey off of his back. It is a perfectly weighted ball. I forget who plays it in for
Orishano.
Orishano plays it in. Okay. Yeah. It's just the classic striker times his run perfectly, gets the ball in the box, gets it past Stefan. This is the meat and potatoes offense that has just been missing from this team for so much. This is always the moment where Boupendza receives the ball and he's 8 yards offside, but in the moment you're like, holy shit, look how open he is.
Right. What I really liked about this goal is when you say it was a perfectly weighted ball, if you watch the replay, it really is. It's a perfect ball. But what Baird does that I think enables him to score is as he makes the run and as the ball gets out in front of him, he allows the ball's momentum to keep going about another half second, where if he could have taken a touch a half step earlier. And if he takes that touch, I think he risks getting it out too far and Stefan being able to make a play on the ball, or that touch will bring him too close to Stefan where he won't have the ability to get it up and down over him. But by letting the ball roll just that extra half beat before he takes his touch to chip, I think that not touching the ball actually leaves him in a better shooting position. And you can see him as he's running.
He thinks about it
to see where the defender is. He looks one way. He looks at Stefan, and he's doing this mental calculation. You can tell of, do I have time to let this go for just a half step more, or do I need to make my play now because I'm about to get dispossessed? It was so much going on in about 0.2 of a second, 0.3 of a second right there, where it's just like you forget to sometimes, oh yeah, these guys, even the ones in MLS, are world-class athletes. Like, this is incredibly high-level shit that they do.
Yeah. I love too that, like, even with the narrative that Baird hasn't scored, and it's been a difficult, going for him early on here, that he still lets the ball roll and goes to chip the keeper. Like, that's exactly what you want from your striker. It doesn't matter what's going on. He's playing his game. Okay.
Right.
He's going to make it a little more difficult than it has to. And it was awesome. That was such a cool moment. Everybody's celebrating with him. The official highlights cuts to the Bailey, and it's like 3 people that are just stunned. They're just staring at each other with their mouths open. It's really funny. I don't know if they were doing that about this goal or if some inside joke was brought up, but it's actually perfectly timed. It's a really, really good highlight.
There were other people that had money on Corey Baird anytime goal scorer. And we're just desperately waiting to find out if it gets waved off.
Yeah, which we should touch on. I forget, it happens before their goal, yes?
Yes. Right before.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, Grayson, if you want to go referee lawyer on us, but it's originally checked. Yuya Kubo scores, allegedly. He looks to be offside. They go back to video review. They check it. He is, in fact, onside, but they later decide, or I guess they further decide that his hand helped the ball get to the position to score, and it's a little different handball rules when a goal is scored versus like any other moment in the game, where basically elsewhere in the game, incidental contact or like not making your body bigger, these things all matter. But when it comes to a goal scored, if essentially the hand is involved in any way, shape, or form, they always walk it back. But I guess I'm just
we've had some called back where it's just like extremely like incidental contact that would not be a handball.
Yeah.
But since it's either like in the goal scoring play or like immediately before the goal scoring play, which is how the rule's written.
Yeah.
No goal. I gotta say, like, looking back at it, I think it's a handball. Like, no matter where it happens on the field.
Okay.
He's bending down at the ground. His hand is on the ground, and it actually like stops the ball from rolling a little bit. And it's like, it's like, I'm not saying like I don't think it was intentional. Like, I think he was keeping his balance. It just so happened that his hand did kind of tee up the ball for him to score.
You know what the annoying part of this is? I think he's got his hand down to steady himself right there. I think if he goes to ground, he gets a penalty there. Because Stefan made contact with him.
They don't give it to us. There's no way.
I know, not us. Okay, fine. But like in general, I was kind of like going back and watching this. I think Stefan brings him down. Like, he's going to make a save, and I don't know if he gets any of the ball. He definitely clips Yuya on the foot, which causes him to have to get his balance checked. Like, nobody brings this up because he stayed upright. The only reason he has to put his hand down is because I think Stefan clipped him on the foot. And I think if he goes down there,
shouldn't they then? Shouldn't that also be part of the play that you call? Like, I don't think he does. I'm looking at it. I don't think Stefan. I think Stefan. Let's see. Where's the angle? Yeah, I think Stefan gets his hands in front of the ball.
I think he gets him on the foot.
I think he pushes the ball against his feet. I think that's what knocks Kubo off balance. But, I'm happy to say they should have given us a penalty for this.
Yeah, of course. I I guess the piece that kind of threw me off, and I realized later, I think this is an American football thing. I think this is an NFL rule, which is in the NFL, because it's a coach's challenge or the official replays, they have to like declare what they're reviewing, and then they can only settle that question. Like they can't go determine if it was, whatever, I don't know, was it a touchdown or not? Oh my God, there was holding on the play. Like they can't go back and award a penalty or, penalize somebody for something they discover through the process of the review, that they have to declare what it is they're reviewing and they can only answer that question. And that's just not the case, at least with MLS's version of VAR, correct? That they can...
Yeah, it's...
They can look at anything, yeah.
Yeah, anything once that goes to VAR, they can check anything. It could be a foul in the build-up. It could be offside. It could be a handball. It could be obstruction of the goalkeeper, whatever it is that you want to call at that point. Once they go to the monitor, they can see and they can look at anything. The
weird thing about this one, well, there's two weird things about it. One is, one was weird if you were in the stadium. The other was weird if you were watching it on TV, because if you watch back through like the highlights, it says they're checking a possible handball.
Yeah,
but there's no they can't have gone to the monitor for the handball because the ref didn't call it a goal on the field.
Right.
They called him offside. They were reviewing the offside or onside decision. Then they checked to see, because I guess they noticed that there may have been a handball, although the Colorado players were calling for it at the time. But in the stadium, they put decision goal allowed,
which is why on the replay
up on the screen,
you can hear the cheers in the stadium when if you watch the broadcast back or even the highlight recap back, because they flashed it on the screen. We all thought they were awarding the goal.
Yeah, so whoever is monitoring, whoever puts that up there must be piped into the ref audio or something, because maybe they must have heard them. And I'm curious, we should be getting this audio on Saturday when Pro drops their inside video review. So I'm wondering if there was a moment where they said he's onside, and then whoever puts that up on the monitor just jumped the gun.
Yeah. I'm curious who gets to put that up too. Is that
I have no idea.
A referee thing? Is there an official score thing? Or is that like just FCC's stadium guy was like, this will be funny, I'll just say it's a goal? Like,
right. Trying to influence things.
Right.
Yeah, because there's really no need for it anymore, because this was the first time we had a in-stadium broadcast of the announcement, which...
Oh, did you understand the announcement?
No, not at all.
It was, if you didn't know the referee was a recent immigrant from Ukraine, you certainly learned after the video review. That was a tough one to piece together. So, yeah, so sucks, Chief, your 5-leg parlay there, damn near hit there.
Fuck.
Well then... We go to the 72nd minute where a Jordy Mihailovic corner somehow beats Matt Miazga. Grayson, you mentioned it before. He forgets to jump. I don't know what's happening here. He just gets straight up beat. And Moise Bombito, I think that's his name.
What a name.
I know. It's a good name. I hope that's his name because I like saying it that way. Gets the goal. The rare set piece header aerial duel lost goal against FC Cincinnati. Can left sprawling after that one. But after that,
he didn't worry, but they were playing so well. That goal was such against the run of play that it wasn't we're in it now. I was unbothered by the fact they got scored on in that moment.
Yeah. Chief, one thing I know you have takes on, we didn't see the first sub, and I'm going to set aside the Yedlin injury replacement here for a moment, until the 87th minute. And it didn't include Aaron Boupendza in the first round of substitutes. What do we make of the virtually non-existent substitutions here?
I mean, on one hand, there's a lot of things that go into it. They severely outpossessed Colorado. the passing numbers, everything was woefully skewed, wonderfully skewed, in fact, towards the FC. And it's just, you don't expend as much energy when you're on the ball. Chasing the ball is where you expend a ton of your energy. And it's just, there weren't a lot of guys out there that looked like they were on dead legs, even that deep into the game. But the bigger issue is who you bringing on? Like, if you're trying to see out a game, who are the fresh legs you're calling on? Are you calling on, Malik Pinto? I mean, he's fine, but would you rather have 70% of, Pavel Buka or 100% of Malik Pinto? And I don't know what the answer to that is. And, Haglund is out. So, he's still not available for selection. And obviously Kelsy hasn't been announced yet or been made part of the roster. Santos, I think, is still nursing some sort of an injury. It's just, there's not a lot of options on that bench for Pat, where it's like, yeah, no, this guy is somebody that you can trust to see a match out. So I think that the late subs are more a reflection of right now the weakness of the bench, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, on that point, and Grayson, I don't know if you know anything more about this. I'm looking at FOTMOB, which could be very wrong. It has no injury designation for Sergio Santos, and he didn't make the bench. Is he?
I thought he was out.
Okay.
Injured. I thought he was on the injury report.
That's the piece I don't have in front of me, and I wasn't sure. If he was a healthy scratch, that would be news, I think. But
right.
But he was not listed on the injury report.
Oh no, he just straight up not make the bench.
They only listed Nick Haglund.
Did Dotto just take Santos's spot?
Dotto, who scored 3 goals in the FCC2 match today, further cementing the fact that MLS Next Pro is just a bullshit league.
They did beat the Philly team, the 2 team. So, yeah, cool. RIP Bethlehem Steel 2.0. Yeah.
Santos was doing individual work this week.
Okay.
So even if he wasn't on the
official list.
So if he's doing
he had been on lists in past weeks, and he was doing individual work, and so like he and Roman would be 2 people who were not listed on the availability report, but were both sat.
Gotcha.
Do you think when you say he's doing individual work, because Kelsy was doing individual work, do they do individual work together? Or are they just doing individual work, like they're working next to one another and they're just not allowed to talk?
It's like a rom-com where it's just like, I'm not asking you on a date. I'm just saying, like, if you're at the park and I'm at the park at the same time, maybe we're walking side by side.
It's a wonderful romantic comedy called Restraining Order.
That's so weird. We keep running into each other.
That's true about basically any romantic comedy. Like most romantic comedies, there would be at least 1 or 2 moments in the movie where somebody would have been justified in getting a restraining order.
That'd be a great premise for a rom-com. It's a rom-com where she takes out a restraining order against the guy, and then he has to like profess his love from 500 feet away the entire time and do things that impress her from 500 feet away. So the entire movie is shot like on a very, very wide lens of him like saving puppies and doing things, but never getting closer than 500 feet to her.
And you could have a hilarious subplot where she's a teacher. Okay.
And he can't come around the school.
500, he's 500 feet away from the school. And there's like other guys who are also just kind of hovering 501 feet away from the school. And he's like, oh, which teacher do you guys like? Don't worry about it.
Right.
They're giving him tips and tricks on how to stay 500 feet away. Yeah, it's good.
He goes under a bridge and he's like, "Hey, I need like all the." They do like a montage of them giving him all the tricks.
He does the say anything thing with the boombox, except that like since it's 500 feet away, he has to turn it up really, really loud.
Really loud.
It's like, does she go to a church? Because legally they can't prevent you from going to church. It's your freedom of religion.
You're now a member of her church. Oh God. So then the game ends. I don't know what happens.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, wasn't there. How was the atmosphere for this one? It felt like the crowd was up for it. Was it a good time? Was it a good time?
They're winning Fortress status. We're back. We're back with the Fortress. We're back on our Fortress era.
It's nice when you go out to like OTR after a win. After a well-attended win and the weather's nice and like people are clearly like staying out, so you just see people like at all the various bars still in their FC gear.
I was staying out a little too late last night. That was my problem.
Yeah, but like it's a little depressing to like go out after a game and like everybody just went home.
Yeah, right. Everyone's a little sad.
The draw is the worst go out afterwards because the loss you can at least like, well, the hell with it. Let's have a couple drinks and we're not going to let this ruin our night. After a draw, though, it's like I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with my hands.
Yeah. A goalless draw in particular is a real bummer. So the match ends and the weekend ends with FC Cincinnati second in the East, fourth in the overall table. Now, I have to say, I've noticed some comments online pointing this out, and I fully agree. They let Inter Miami play a game early in this season, along with Real Salt Lake. And they're just letting them stay one game ahead of everybody else. So if
Salt Lake is now back on even with everybody, and Miami is still one more game. So they always have more points because they've played more games. Yeah.
So if you look at the overall points, Cincinnati, the Galaxy, and Real Salt Lake are all on 18 points, with Inter Miami on 21, which is exactly 3 more than all of those other teams. So everybody else is staying on pace with Miami. I know it's easy to feel like Miami is just running away with this or something. We're keeping pace, and there are 3 teams, Red Bull, Minnesota United, and Whitecaps, that are just a point behind us at 17 points. So it's a pretty tight race up at the top. I will say,
somebody might point out, though,
please,
that Miami still, to maintain that advantage, still had to win that game. And what I would say in response is like, what feels true?
What's your emotional truth?
Yeah, think about it.
Does it feel like they're trying to game the standings for them?
Yeah, a little bit. Now, pay no mind to Inter Miami having the best goal differential in the league. Okay, that's neither here nor there.
We're not here to talk about that.
I mean, you're not going to.
We're not here to talk about that. So,
not going to get me to confess that they're a good team.
I love that response, though. By the way, we're not here to talk about that.
We're not. That's not the conversation we're having right now.
That's a good point and a different topic. So yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Second, I don't know exactly where we were. Had we finally taken first place by this point last year?
I believe so, yes.
Feels right.
Yeah. Again, that's my emotional truth, is that we were in first place by this point last go around.
Yeah, that feels right. So, So, I mean, right now, like for a team still figuring things out, for a team that still has a U22 potential $7 million transfer player joining this team, a team that still has a DP striker on the bench trying to figure out his role going forward.
A team that can sign 2 more U22 strikers this summer if it wants to.
Yeah, well, let's keep them coming.
Or U22 players.
Or strikers, why not?
Or strikers, yeah. They don't have to be strikers.
The strikers will continue until morale improves.
I mean, we're good everywhere else. Like, I could understand an argument for a central midfielder, but like, just keep throwing strikers at the problem until we get 2 that stick. I don't know. Not bad to be in second place and starting to get the feeling that we're figuring things out. So I like it. I don't know. Any other big picture takeaways here?
No. This is going to be a fascinating couple of weeks coming up, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of fascinating, let's get on over to part 2. We have some Patreon questions to answer, okay? Some of these are going to be on topic. Some of these are going to be off topic. We're going to answer them in part 2. And before we head on over to part 2, I want to tell you about our sponsor, Cincy Shirts. These guys, let me tell you about these guys. Do you know about these guys? Let me tell you about these guys. Cincy Shirts has been around from the beginning. If you ask me, and nobody did, Cincy Shirts was instrumental in FC Cincinnati becoming very, very popular and eventually leading to their MLS bid, which is why I am so excited that the Post and the Postcast are able to partner with them. Look, here's the deal. If you use the promo code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, when purchasing something from them, you get 10% off, and we get a little bit of money back our way, huh? It also lets them know that you heard about them through our show. And even if that's not true, it makes me feel good, and it makes them feel good. So use that code. Look, they just released some new Hawaiian-style shirts. I don't know if they're actually Hawaiian-style, but some new floral prints for FCC, some button-ups. Get on this. The supplies do not last. However, they do have 3 in-store locations, including a new one over in Loveland, where they can print most of the designs for you on a shirt. The button-ups, I don't think they can do on demand, but they can print those designs on demand in a shirt on any size that you'd like. I've definitely used that service. It is awesome. So again, the promo code, ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps, knock a couple bucks off of your next order. It works on non-FCC gear too, all right? Get yourself an LA De La Cruz shirt or something like that. You're gonna look good in it. You're gonna have a good time. And you're gonna save a couple of bucks doing this. So Cincy Shirts, again, cincyshirts.com, link in the description, the code ThePostCincy, all one word, all caps. A huge thank you to Cincy Shirts for sponsoring this and many other episodes of the Postcast. All right, we are back. Part 2, we are answering Patreon questions, and I'm going to start here. Oh, by the way, if you would like to be one of these people who get to ask a question, well, you can give us some of your hard-earned dollars and you get to become a member of the Patreon. It comes with virtually no perks outside of being able to ask us a question. You do get your name in highlighter pink on the Patreon or on the Discord. It's my understanding that this works about half the time. So if you're somebody who has paid the hard-earned dollars but are not highlighter pink on the Discord, reach out to me. I can fix that manually. But in the meantime, we do have a couple of people here that did bother to write us a question, and I'll start off with Tim Sears. And I start off here because I feel like we've answered this, but if anybody has something else new they want to add, go for it. Tim asks, with 2 games of good offense with Boupendza on the bench, what has to happen before he starts again? And I think it's an interesting phrasing. What would have to happen before he starts again?
They'd have to go scoreless for a while with this lineup.
2 games scoreless? 1 game scoreless?
Maybe 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when you're not the starter and you're not the designated player, I think the leash gets a lot shorter. But
yeah,
I don't know. Like it's not going to change until something changes.
Yeah. I mean, you could see there being. I honestly think that the next time he starts, it's because somebody's not available or there's a Wednesday game and they rotate a little bit. You could, I guess, theoretically see him winning the job in training, but man, it's really hard to sit Kubo and Baird with what they're doing in games. At this moment. So, maybe there's an opportunity where you have to rotate and then Boupendza comes out and the team scores 4 goals and he gets a goal and an assist and then it's a question. But, barring kind of protracted poor play from the current, what I think are probably the current starters. Yeah.
Or injury, unfortunately.
Yeah, injury.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a wild situation to be in, though.
I know, right?
This is not how I had the script drawn up for 2024.
Not so much. I mean, as long as the goals are coming in, I don't particularly care who is scoring them. But, you would like to see your DP striker act like a DP striker at some point. You know, it's been a while since we've gotten to see that. Cheyenne Wilson asks a question, and by asking a question, I mean gives me existential dread. Do you think Acosta will receive his 5th yellow card before the Hell is Real game, leading to him being suspended for Columbus? It seems like either him or Miazga are suspended whenever we play Columbus.
The answer is yes.
Yeah, so
I hate this. I hate that I didn't think about this, but the answer is very clearly yes.
Acosta and Buka are both on 4 yellow cards. We play Orlando at Orlando on Saturday, May 4th, and then that is followed by at Columbus Saturday, May 11th. If Buka and or Acosta get a yellow card against Orlando, that would suspend them versus Columbus. Thankfully, Orishano, Wabodo are on 3 and everybody else is less than that. So yeah, it could be Dado and Malik Pinto starting in midfield against Columbus.
Whatever. I don't care. Yeah. It's just another game.
Grayson, do you sit Acosta to avoid the yellow card just so you have him against Crew?
No, I don't care about having him against Crew.
Wow.
And Orlando is not good so far. They've looked bad to start this year. This might be an opportunity to pick 3 points off them that won't be there later in the year.
That's true. They are very much towards the bottom of the table. Where are they? They are in 13th in the East, which is good for 24th overall in the table. Woof. That's pretty rough. Let's keep it going with Drew. Drew asking, if you could bring back any former FCC player, who would it be? This is a good question. Let's assume you get them at the peak of their powers here. I don't want you to bring back like Shauna Coley is a name that comes to mind.
The player that at the peak of their powers? Well, the answer is Justin Hoyt. He played for Arsenal.
We're at the peak of their powers for FC Cincinnati.
Oh.
I mean,
then nobody.
If it's overall, there's a strong argument for Omar Cummings being the starting striker for this team.
Peak of their power overall? I don't know. Santi Arias was pretty damn good at the height of his power. He was pretty damn good.
But we have Yedlin at home.
Yeah. I mean, DeAndre Yedlin's not a bad answer to that either. And he's already on the team. If I get him at the peak of his power.
He's just a little bit better than he is this year.
Yeah. You're getting him when he was like, Newcastle or Tottenham DeAndre Yedlin. Jeff Cameron's the same way. Like you get Jeff Cameron at the peak of his power. He's probably you put him on this team, like peak Jeff Cameron, Matt Miazga and Miles Robinson, nobody's going to score a goal on this team ever.
Like a really good Ledesma would be like, it almost feels like a super Yuya Kubo. Like, not to take anything away from Kubo, but like having Ledesma would be nice. Just a more versatile player, deadly on dead balls. And this is free kicks.
If you have them at the peak of their power, can I go inverse and say Kevin Kelsy? I want him at the peak of his power, like when he
just projecting out into the future,
right?
And 10 years from now, he's one of the best in the game. a new Rondon up top. Yeah, I don't know. Grayson, you haven't given us a name, I don't think.
Vasquez.
Wow, that's mean. I don't like that answer.
I miss him.
All right. Ian Rexroad asks us, I think, a fantastic question. There's a little bit of a setup here, but stick with me. It pays off. Thinking specifically about Shaq Moore's own goal against Colorado in week 2, but feel free to substitute your own favorite embarrassing own goal. Nope, Ian, I'm going with yours. It was a significant error, cost his team 2 valuable points, and could be consequential at the end of the season, but he's still employed and was even starting the next game against Miami. What would be the equivalent level of fuck up at your job as the MLS own goal that cost the result, devastating, but you're not getting fired, but it's tough to look everybody in the office in the eyes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they have malpractice insurance, I guess. Hitting the policy limit on that would probably be tough scenes, I would imagine. What's the podcasting equivalent of that?
I mean,
not recording the interview with Kenny Arena.
I was going to say, I feel like we've done this before. Either that or the twice now. And it kills me that it has happened twice. I think I would have cut me uploading only the hour of audio instead of the 2 hours and some odd minutes of audio that we bothered recording and editing.
Right.
I figured that out, by the way.
Not being able to pronounce the guest's name.
No, I like that.
Our current second string keeper. What's his name again, Kevin?
Roman Celentano.
There we go.
No, I figured it out. In case anybody was wondering, I have iCloud Plus with Apple, and so what it does is it automatically backs up all of the files on my desktop to iCloud, and when the exported full finished edit of the podcast hits the desktop, it starts backing it up. And I realized while it's backing it up, it saves an hour-long version of it as like a cache on the desktop, and when I go to upload, every once in a while it uploads the cached version. Sneaky. You wouldn't know. Everything is titled the same. I export everything the same, but it's not the full audio. And it got me twice.
And this is why you, the listener, have to suffer.
It's true.
Although, getting less of our takes is probably a benefit for most people.
Yeah.
There was a robust conversation in the Discord on the number of people that listen to the podcast at double speed.
I mean,
if it was me, I'd listen to it at like quintuple speed just to get through it faster.
I can't do it. I can't listen to podcasts at a faster speed. Mentally, it really gets me. I can't do it with books either. I don't know. Are either one of you guys more than 1x?
1x. Everyone sounds like a chipmunk if you do it at any other speed.
Yeah. The chipmunk, or just like the timing of jokes. I feel like nobody listens to a comedy album faster, right? Like, it's not
trying
fun.
To savor it. Savor your podcasting experience.
It should take you a week to finish one of these things.
Yeah.
I think this is the last one. Let me review. This is good audio reviewing. I don't want anybody to be missed out or to be missed. The last question here is from Ty. He says, if there is ever another he who shall not be named situation, what's the most tortuous punishment you could think of for each other? I know the one for Grayson. It's that Grayson would have to host his own meet and greet happy hour somewhere. and we encourage everybody to go meet Grayson.
Meet Grayson and Opie, and like talk to him for an extended amount of time and tell him exactly what it is you love about him on the podcast.
We send everybody book reports that they have to fill out about Grayson and facts you need to learn about him.
It's fine. I mean, and obviously the worst, most punishing thing would be like playing this podcast for like a member of the coaching staff or a player or like a high level like executive of FC Cincinnati. Like
the punishment for Grayson is having to go on camera the next time we do an away days. Full on, full face, raw dogging it on video.
Actually, Grayson,
that's a Boupendza. I'm not doing that.
Grayson, I love the idea of like we have Pat Noonan sit down and listen to the podcast, and he critiques our critiques of the team. Oh my god!
or just somebody puts like Pat Noonan in front of me, and he tries, and I have to like explain to him like what I think we're doing. Why we do this podcast, what we hope to accomplish, what motivates us to do this time and time again. Like,
it's like our guest this week is Corey Baird.
This is gonna be like
Corey,
a
I'm going to start off with some
kind of situation.
Our guest this week is Corey Baird. Corey, we're going to read back to you some things that our co-host, the Chief, has tweeted.
Having the players read mean tweets that we've sent while we're just sitting here.
It would be a great variation of the mean tweets bit where they read the mean tweets and instead of being good natured about it, just say, that was really hurtful. My feelings are hurt and you're bad people. And just like leaving the show right there.
Yeah. My daughter read that and it really upset her. Like, oh,
yeah.
damn.
You know, these live forever. And when you Google my name, my parents see this.
My brother thinks like the city hates me. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good punishment.
Do you ever like say something like sarcastic and then somebody like asks you like, what do you mean?
Oh,
like why would you say that?
Man,
the worst guy in every conversation. It's like, come on, you're not going to shame me worse than I've shamed myself over the course of my lifetime. I wouldn't be where I am right now if I had any sense of shame left. I wouldn't be hosting a podcast if I even had a modicum of shame.
Oh man, so
good win. Good win.
Yeah,
vibes high.
This is nice. I like talking about wins.
It's a winning streak. This is cool. We like this. We like winning streaks. This is so much better than the alternative.
Winning streaks. We got Orlando coming up, which we'll preview, but I mean, I'll say it. Trap game.
Yeah. Dubs high. Dubs up. The only real trap in life would be getting stuck in a city that I hate, you hate, we all hate, despite its nice weather, and that's San Diego. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
Patreon supporting Kevin's bad drug habits, as if there is a good one. There really aren't any good ones, but Grayson found a loophole in that tiny text. He says that she owns all your souls, and if you know what's next, the FC is gonna roll through this whole season, and episodes will feel like you are dreaming. Interviews with every Tom, Matt, Dick, and Harry are gonna blow your soccer-minded Harry.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Cincy Postcast. It is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out at thepostcincy.com or just click a link in the description to check out some of our written work. It also has links to our social media accounts across all sorts of different platforms, including YouTube, where we are trying to do more and more video content. Please, dare I say it, like and subscribe and leave a comment. But no, that would be really, really helpful. I also want to give a thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers. They're a local Cincinnati band who provided all of the music for this episode. We love having them on board. You can check them out. Again, link in the description of this episode to find out where they might be playing shows next or where you can listen to more of their music. Also want to give a massive, massive thank you to the awesome and very attractive patrons over on Patreon. It is a voluntary subscription that people take out with no real promise of anything extra that keep this show afloat. And we are so, so thankful to those of you that have decided to take that commitment. If you do like the show, or at least just want to engage with other people who have listened to the show and want to talk about FC Cincinnati, MLS, soccer, or really anything else, you can go on over to Discord. Again, link in the description. Lots of links in the description where you can find a link to the Discord. That's where we are keeping the conversation going 24/7. It feels like it's a really fun group of people in there just talking about FC Cincinnati. And like I said, just about everything else. And finally, I'll say it. If you liked this episode, and given the fact that you've made it all the way to the end, I have to assume you either like it or for some reason cannot reach the stop button. Please share this episode with a friend or family member or someone who likes FC Cincinnati. The best way for us to grow is from a personal recommendation from somebody who likes it. And if that's you, please tell other people. And if you don't have any friends, feel free to give us a review on whatever your podcast platform of choice is. We'll take anything we can get. But again, a huge, huge thank you to everybody for listening to this show. I am blown away that anybody listens to this. So again, I well and truly mean this. Thank you so much for listening.